I found this Connecticut map in 2020 at an estate sale in Norwalk, Connecticut. I paid $10. The map divides the areas where the Mohegan and the Pequot Native American tribes were concentrated prior to the Pequot War that took place from 1636 through 1638. The Pequot War was an armed conflict between the Pequot tribe and an alliance of the colonists from the Massachusetts Bay, Plymouth, and Saybrook colonies, and their allies from the Narragansett and Mohegan tribes in Connecticut. The primary cause of the Pequot War was the struggle to control trade. This map features the Reverend Thomas Hooker House in the state capital of Hartford, John Underhill, who we will discuss shortly, the seal of the state of Connecticut, the New London Lighthouse, Fort Saybrook in Old Saybrook, Old Stone Fort in Windsor, the State House in New Haven, and we will be right back to discuss the Pequot War. The front of the map is signed by R. Toke and was copyrighted in February 1971. On the back is a picture of Ronald and his wife Kathleen with a description about their work. This label reads, "This map has been researched as to dates, places, battles, Indian tribes, and events. It is truly authentic and is copyrighted in the Library of Congress, Washington, D.C." Now let's learn about the Pequot War. According to the map, it reads, after failing to get the Narragansetts and Mohegans to aid them, the Pequots began attacking settlements in Connecticut in early 1637. 200 men from Massachusetts and Connecticut under Captains Mason and Underhill surprised the main Pequot camp on May 26, 1637, and completely destroyed it. The survivors were captured or dispersed, and their chief, Sassacus, fled to the Mohawks in New York. This is what I've learned. In 1637, the Puritans of Massachusetts Bay began settling in Connecticut, but they were facing increasing conflict with the Pequots. At the time, there were approximately 3,000 Pequots inhabiting Connecticut. By the spring of 1637, 13 English colonists and traders had been killed by the Pequots. On April 23rd, in a show of defiance towards colonial mobilization, 200 Pequot warriors attacked an English settlement in Wethersfield, where 6 men and 3 women died and 2 girls were taken captive. In response, Massachusetts Bay Governor John Endicott organized a large military force. On May 26, John Underhill and 2 other English officers, along with their allies, the Narragansett and Mohegan tribes, marched onto the Pequot village in Mystic and in a matter of hours slaughtered about 700 Pequots and then burned their village to the ground. The only survivors were Pequot warriors that were away during the attack. This attack would later be known as the Mystic Massacre, the first recorded incident of indigenous genocide perpetrated by the colonists in New England. 2 more attacks on Pequot villages, one near present-day Stonington, the other near present-day Fairfield, would also result in the massacres of those Pequot inhabitants. The Pequot War officially came to an end in September 1638. After the war, the Pequots who survived were either sold into slavery or escaped to join other southern New England tribes. Sassacus did escape to hide among the Mohawk, but the Mohawks killed him and sent his scalp to the English to appease the colonists. Most modern-day scholars agree that the causes of the Pequot War were largely manufactured by the English because the English wanted to expand their reach inland and remove the Dutch from the New England trade. In 1665, the Pequots were given land in Noank, but only a year later, it was taken back. Instead, they were relocated to the area of Mashantucket in the town of Ledyard. In 1774, there were only around 150 Pequots on the reservation. By 1800, less than 40. Their land was also reduced from 1,250 acres of the reservation to only 213 acres. By 1855, the state of Connecticut had sold all their land. Then, in the 1970s, the Pequots sued the state of Connecticut for the illegal sale of their land, and finally, in 1983, the Mashantucket Pequot tribe was federally recognized by President Ronald Reagan through the Connecticut Indian Land Claims Settlement Act. The Pequots were given back 800 acres of land in federal aid. They invested the federal aid and with those profits, established Foxwoods Resort Casino in Ledyard. The Pequot War of 1637 was said to have established the model the English colonists would follow from that point forward, as they claimed to represent the land of the free and the home of the brave.